Hi everyone, this is a review for the movie Heretic, which I watched last night, 11/7, and hope everyone who's planning on going to the movies tonight or in the coming few weeks is able to find this review useful. While I don't do spoiler-free reviews, I'll try to keep them to a minimum since this is a newer movie and I don't want to ruin too much of it for anyone. In general, my reviews are going to be very much just like my overall feeling of the movie. It's going to be very basic, what I liked, what I didn't like, and if I think people in general like it, or if it's more for a specialized audience. I'm very particular to plot slash writing, so usually my criticisms are going to tend to focus more on that than anything else. Right, so as the trailer shows very clearly, this movie revolves around religion. Two Mormon women, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, are doing their due diligence, going around town asking people if they would like to learn more about Mormonism when they meet a man named Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed invites them into his home under the pretense that his wife is in the kitchen making blueberry pie. The movie, of course, is dripping with spiritual references. So I think for those like myself whose spiritual knowledge is a bit lacking, plenty of the movie will not resonate or make much sense. The use of blueberry pie is a good example of this. So apparently blueberries represent the abundance and goodness that God has to offer, which I personally did not go into the movie knowing. So it's no coincidence that his wife was making blueberry pie instead of, let's say, apple pie. But, I guess apples have their own significance when it comes to the Bible. So maybe that could or could not have worked. But I also think blueberries have something to do with faith from what I could see. So then I guess that's why they didn't do apples. Anyway, so when the women come in, they have some religious discourse with Mr. Reed before, as we see in the trailer, Sister Barnes manages to realize that the delicious blueberry smell is coming from a candle as opposed to the kitchen. The two women become very uncomfortable and make demands to either A, meet his wife so they can know that she is there, or that he please let them exit the house. And the whole question of whether or not he did or did not have a wife was also one of these things of starting to test their faith in what they believe and if they believe what they see or what their intuition is telling them, and that's sort of a challenge. The Miss Reed then spends what feels like too much time lecturing them about religion. So this is the part of the movie I personally really did not enjoy. It felt more like I was in a college course being spoken to by a professor, and that kind of took me out of the whole these two women are in danger aspect of the film. Mr. Reed also peppers his discourse with a series of jokes, and at times his attitude is a little flippant, and that also kind of took me out of the movie. So while I don't mind comedy and horror, although I really would not call this a horror film in the traditional sense, I personally, the comedy just didn't work for me and it didn't add anything to the film. I will interject that I did look at what other people were thinking, and some people said the movie was funny and their audience, they were laughing, they were watching what they were laughing. My audience, I didn't hear so much as a snicker. So take that, what you will. All right. But I will add this little also thing here too. There was like a whole history of Monopoly, and I did find that interesting. So I'm grateful for those little tidbits that I did learn. Anyway, so we get to Mr. Reed refuses to let these two women out the front door, insists that they must choose one of two other doors to go down. We see it in the trailer, the belief or disbelief, and he offers the pretense that his front door is locked on a timer and it cannot be reset until morning. And that they must exit through the back of the house. And the only thing that I find weird about this is why didn't they just select the option of just sitting in the living room until the beginning, until the morning comes? I don't know if that couldn't have been an option, because personally that's what I would have done. If the door is going to unlock with this timer once morning comes, I would have sat out there. But of course we know the movie could not have gone the way the movie did if they did not instead opt to go through one of these doors. But I was personally sitting there thinking why they didn't just do that. Anyway, so we're seeing that, he's very big into challenging their faith, which is why he's making them choose which one of these doors to go down. One thing I do wonder is, did he set this up for Mormons specifically? Was he going to challenge everybody on a wide scale basis? Was it just whoever happened to come to his house? Like, would he have challenged somebody coming to fix his washing machine too? I really don't know why he had this whole semi-labyrinth thing going on in the home, but whatever. And speaking of Labyrinth, interjecting this whole review thing here, he did have the kind of the visual of that Labyrinth maze thing inside of the trailer, which looked really cool. I wish there was more of that in the movie. Unfortunately, there's not, and it did really remind me of the I guess their dioramas in Hereditary, which I liked Hereditary. I didn't love Hereditary. I like Ari Aster's work, but Hereditary, I prefer Midsommar more than that. But either way, back to this. So, he attempts to show them a miracle, which neither woman really falls for. And then there's an attempt for them to escape, which of course is thwarted. So between the two sisters, Sister Barnes is particularly argumentative, which then causes her to be disposed of fairly quickly. And the more enthusiastic and positive against all odds, Sister Paxton is then left to fend for herself. And I will say I like the actress who played Sister Paxton. I really did enjoy. She was very lighthearted and just very kind of cutesy, and I really, really did like that. But once Sister Barnes is dead and Sister Paxton is miraculously, no pun intended, when she's left to fend for herself, right, she has this like inexplicable character shift where she suddenly becomes so much more clever and way more assertive than we'd seen her for the entire first half of the film. And as I said, writing is a big thing for me, so it was just a little annoying to see this character just shift on a dime, because it just felt more like we need this character to do this, so we're gonna write it this way, and that was kind of just what it was to move, keep moving the plot forward. But either way, she's the hero of the movie. So once it's over, we see her escaping, but then we're like, did she actually escape? It's very much like Inception, where the ending is sort of ambiguous. So it's kind of to a degree how you kind of interpret everything that you viewed. Because of Dante's Inferno and stuff like that, here and there calls to that, you can kind of say, well, maybe she's sort of stuck somewhere, maybe she's not. But again, it's going to depend on how you interpret the film. So personally for me, I didn't really like the movie. I didn't hate it, but I'm not particularly religious. I don't do a lot of religious studies, so I'm sure there's a lot of different calls in the movie that I missed because I just don't have the frame of reference. The movie reminded me a lot of a movie from the 1990s called Mind Walk. Mind Walk revolves around three characters who spend 112 minutes basically discussing heavy topics about social and political issues and their possible resolution. I really like Mind Walk for what it is. However, I don't think the general public goes and wants to watch at any given time a film like Mind Walk. And in so many ways, the beginning portion of this movie reminded me of that. And because I don't feel as though Heretic leaned enough into the supernatural faith aspects of the film for, a decent portion of it, it kind of killed anything that, to me, you could have possibly enjoyed in that line. So, the film really tried in the beginning to, like in Mr. Reed's discourse, he was talking about how if you look at the big three religions, you can find well before they came into existence similar stories that were passed down from different cultures. And then now you have Judaism, you have Christianity, and you have Islam and everything. And then you had the Dante's Inferno references. It didn't live up to what it could have. I wish it was a little more ethereal in its whole point, or like why everything was happening and occurring the way that it did. And I will mention too, it did remind me in parts of As Above, So Below, which I really love that movie. But that also was a little more spiritual, As Above, So Below, right, than this turned out to be. All right, so personally, for anyone who's going in to see this movie and you are hoping to watch something that is supernatural, I think unfortunately you're going to be disappointed. I would say this movie is more along lines of a thriller and probably like a Don't Breathe, which was also a good movie, than it is like a Stigmata, which I also thought was a good movie. So if you're prepared for something along the lines of Don't Breathe with somewhat muddled Dante's Inferno tinge, you might like it. Otherwise, you might want to wait to watch it. But either way, let me know what you guys think, in the comments.